and welcome to another edition of Creative Currents, a weekly webcast that introduces you to fascinating people of the LA culture. And before we introduce our guests, I want to thank our sponsors, the Wyland Brewery in Little Tokyo on First Street, just across the street from the Japanese American Museum. And it's truly one of the greatest hangout bars in LA. The Cafe Metropole on 3rd near Santa Fe in the Arts District, specializing in pasta, pizza, and paninis, and presents some really great jazz. And 3rd Street Steakhouse and Lounge on 3rd near Traction and the Arts District, specializing in mouth-watering steaks with an Asian flair. And it serves up in a very nice and chic environment with really great prices. Check out the details and offers on our web address and on the website, and just click on the sponsors tab. And now it's a real pleasure for me to introduce Creative Currents to this great guest that has been invited here, Rafael Matias.
Thank you for having me.
It is truly our pleasure.
Thank you.
And you are considered a mosaic artist?
Painter. I use beads instead of paint. And I also do mosaic sculptures. I had a show in South Africa at the Associate of Arts quite some time, but it was mixed media.
Okay. We're going to be presenting a video in the course of the program, so everyone stay tuned, because we'll actually get a chance to look at some of the work. But I wanted to start off by asking you, the proverbial question: what do you feel are the things that most influence your work?
My life, what's going on with myself, my kids, my friends, situations. They're all just basically what I'm doing is just being a storyteller and using people in my life as some of the characters.
Yeah. Well, I actually have done a little bit of reading for a change with mosaic work, and one of the interesting things that I learned is that mosaics in general have this idea of the journey being even more important to the artist than the finished piece.
That's true. Right now, I've been working on this piece. It's a 6x6 piece, and I'm going on my 19th month. And it's true. It's a journey. Every day working on it and creating it, making it happen, and showing up to work.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's some other little business at hand that I want to get, past so that we can focus a little bit more on your work. And I know that you have a really interesting piece up at a museum in Ventura right now. Where is that venue? What is
It's called the Vita Gallery. It's in the city of Ventura, and I have about 8 or 9 pieces, all 4x3 feet.
4x? Do you normally work on that large scale?
I've been moving up a little bigger now to 6x6.
So you're growing.
I'm growing. I'm growing.
What do you feel like that? What do you think makes your work a little bit different from other mosaic work out there?
I don't see too many people who work with the beads, but I try to make it more in terms of fine art, as opposed to making it something pretty that someone could just put in their house. And it's my work. Yeah.
Yeah, well, decorative arts, I know that mosaics, sometimes people actually designate that as kind of like a craft.
Right.
And
I've been, when I first started, they said that's what I was doing, craft. Okay. But it so far has changed. Now that it's gone into museums and stuff, so it's changed.
Okay. They may have been qualifying it as a craft, but there's a lot of storytelling in your work, but also there are other really strong themes.
Visual themes.
That influence your work.
Right. Like I said, it's always the same thing. What's happening with me and my life and the kids. And when you see them, I can point out who's who in the video.
You actually have them. Maybe we should go to the video kind of early. We should do that.
If you'd like.
Yeah, I think we should, because that way people will know what we're talking about for real. This is the piece that you've described, right?
That's the one I'm working on right now for the last 18 months. It's called Love Is On Its Way. You can see the size of it. It's there in the living room. I have to.
That's your workspace.
My workspace, yes.
Work and living.
Right. And there's the the beads, and all I use is a tweezer. Just
Tweezer, the tweezer?
A tweezer, yes.
And the glue. Now this is not beaded work, right?
No, that was a piece that I had at the LA Open Art Festival many, many years ago, and it was at the time when Jesse Helms was doing his thing, and they were censoring stuff, so they decided to put my flag surrounded by all these American writers who at one time had been censored. And so many people at the end complained about the piece because it was in the window that they kept the books, but they took the piece out.
So they actually censored. Now this piece right here basically is just the opening of your work in Cape Town.
Right, that was the solo show that I had there of sculptures.
That back in 1996? And that
Yeah,
was
96 I believe it was.
Yeah. And the work that is interlaced in the video is actually going to be pieces that are still there?
You mean the new
like
pieces
this
here?
right there.
That's one of the masks. That's when I was also doing sculptures and just playing around with found objects. I had about maybe 20 of those different figures.
They were part of the exhibition in
yes.
Cape Town?
Uh-huh.
Wonderful. And
Thank
is it
you.
still in South Africa?
Yeah, they're all still over there waiting. So, I don't know if what I'm going to do with them. And that's a Hopi dowel that I also did with found objects and mosaic, flowers.
Right, there's a saw on the bottom I see, and a
Right.
telephone.
Mm-hmm.
The Hopi.
Right, the Hopi.
And this is the sexy girl.
The Latin mama, yes.
She's got like the stove ranges, and she's got...
She's just quite beautiful and stylish.
Yeah. And she's
A lot
got
of
two
people
different
like that one.
styles on the feet.
Mm-hmm.
Very nice. So a lot of that sculpture is mainly found objects.
Right, and those sculptures were like 5 to 6 feet high, and then the masks were like maybe 2 feet. The biggest piece I think that I did was this, like a tower, and that was about maybe 12 feet high, and also with mosaic. I don't think you have it on here.
No, I don't think
It
we
was
got
a
to see that
fun
one.
piece to play with.
This is your live-in workspace?
Mm-hmm.
Where you
That's where it all happens.
you gather your inspiration. This is your son, you said?
That's a piece I did for my son in 1992. It's called Pablito. It's just him as an angel. And again, most of my figures, whether beads or sculptures, have feathers, and all of them have hearts. All the pieces have hearts.
Okay.
And that's Pablito again. That's a different one. That's found objects, dried flowers, beads.
And he's got wings.
And he's got wings, yeah. I like to
Okay.
give the kids wings,
'Cause
especially
they're
now that they're
Oh, this gives
flying off on
perspective.
them.
Look at this.
That's
To the
piece-
size of the piece, yeah.
That was a 6x6. Call me familia, which means my family.
Right. That's your son at the bottom, you told me, and your daughter on the top.
Right, and then I'm just hugging all these colors that are everybody else, my aunt, my mom, my brother, my sister.
And you're the one with the black and white. You're the snake that wraps around.
Yeah. The big face, I don't...
Yeah.
Yeah, that's me.
This is an altarpiece.
That one is called Ausencia, and that's about my daughter being born. You see 3 figures at the bottom, and when
right.
she was born, we had a midwife, and she didn't want to take any drugs or anything, and we just held her hands, and she had it. And then I have a cow representing life and milk, and then the fertility doll, but I added some other elements to it, so it's always welcoming you back to the house.
And it's you and her intertwined in the middle, you and your wife?
Right. Yeah. And then on the bottom is the ocean, and it's just tears falling from America into the South African Ocean.
Because you were leaving, you were explaining.
I was leaving, yeah.
It's a beautiful piece.
Thank you.
Can't wait to see the next one. But in the meanwhile, we're into cutting because this piece didn't gain perspective, so we go back to the piece that's 6 by 6 called Loves.
Love's on its way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Míralo ahí, Rafael. Very nice.
Thank
I'm
you.
so glad that I know that you have. There's going to be a closing this Saturday, no?
At the Vita Gallery in the city of Ventura. And then the show, I think, at the museum starts on the 5th. I think you saw something.
That's
the altar show.
The altar show.
Yeah.
That's probably going to be a celebration of the Day of the Dead
Mm-hmm.
from October 26th to November 5th at it's called Altars and Art,
Mm-hmm.
and that's going to be at the Museum of Ventura County.
Mm-hmm.
This is, just a flyer, but the piece is probably going to be on their site, and it's going to be a really great exhibition with other.
There'll be 2 new pieces for the museum. Lament and Passion, which I did a while ago, and then my self-portrait that I did. That's all in glass. That's a glass mosaic. You'll see some of the glass mosaics in here.
I don't know which one's the glass mosaic.
That's a glass one, and the next page.
And your portrait is in here?
No, those are newer pieces, and then these are glass also.
Oh, okay, here you go. Can you see that? Good. All right, so this one here is called Melancolia, the one in red, and the one in blue.
Melancholia, yeah.
Melancholia, and then Lullaby.
Lullaby.
Lullaby. So the tesserae in your work is the beads.
Well, I'm not going to do beads for a while. I'm just going to stick to the glass for a while and go back to sculptures. I just need to get a life right now and get away from the beads. It's taking up too much of my time.
18 months?
Well, because if I don't spend at least, 6 hours, nothing really comes out. In 6 hours, maybe I get this much. So.
And you're very meticulous. I noticed in the video every little, making sure that everything's stuck together. And
Oh, yeah. Actually, I don't think they'll mind me saying, but one of my pieces fell at this, showing that I'm right now. And I thought the worst, that it's going to be totally in pieces. And all that fell off were a couple beads and a couple of the glass. That was it. Because I layered them and put them on so tightly. And that's where the job is. You can spend half an hour just doing a little spot of the piece. And it gets, after 15 months, you're like, well, what's next? Should I move on? Should I finish it? So
maybe that's that process, that journey that they're talking about.
that's exactly it.
Because in the process, it's like you want to drop it, but
yeah.
you just keep
I'm
going.
sure I'll go back to beads one day, but.
I wanted to ask about the sculptures because I know that seems to be sort of like an initiation for you into a particular type of work, but there was a very political ambience that influenced that work as well. You were in Cape Town doing something very specific with the activism with...
Part of the time that I was there, I worked with the ANC, the African National Congress, and eventually got to meet all the comrades and everything, but was one of 2 people who represented the ANC on Robben Island while it was still a prison. It was a petty prison, but it was still a prison. And that got a little scary because we thought some of the prisoners were trying to grab our ballot boxes and toss them into the ocean. So we had to be very protective of that. But everything turned out well. It's a new thing that's happening there now, but back then it was something else, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
The excitement in the air and with the people and the fact that they were going to vote, and it was for Mr. Mandela. So it was something I'll never forget.
And so now you see the results?
Yeah. Only things I don't know if they've gotten any better with the new government, but Mandela and his party did what they could at that time, and a lot of jobs came, and doctors, and putting water in the shanty towns, and so there was a lot of good things that came out.
And you got married and you had a daughter there.
Oh, I wasn't married, but I had a daughter.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
sorry about that. But
Yeah.
one of those situations where a wonderful, something else sprung from it that was more natural. Great.
And she's a sculptor herself, so we were able to work together, and besides having our daughter, and travel a little
There's
bit.
some very specific motifs in your work And I'm wondering, do you perceive them, the influences, to be more African or more Native American? How do you see that?
I've heard other people say, and I'll probably agree with that, it's more tribal. There's a lot of tribalism that's in all the pieces. Yeah.
Any particular?
Sort of, such as that. I made myself as a...
This is your
well, I am an
self-portrait
Indian.
on the cover.
No, that's one of the first pieces I did. Siempre estaremos.
Siempre estaremos?
Mm-hmm.
Was that in relationship to a relationship?
Yeah, my daughter's mother.
Oh, siempre estaremos.
Mm-hmm.
Where is this piece right now?
In Ventura.
Oh, so we'll get to see it in Ventura.
About 8 of them, yes. Yes. And then 2 new ones at the museum. I look forward to it. It should be a wonderful evening.
Okay. Now, there was another situation where I was wondering how many other people, because one of the things that happens with your work is you actually put it on a canvas. It's not a mosaic that you wear, like my beads and my bracelet.
Yeah, just on a 4x3 piece of wood. Frame it, and there we go. We start off. They're all kind of made the same way.
Yeah, but they have a very different story to tell.
Mm-hmm.
Some of your other influences are writers?
Well, I love poetry, and I listen to poetry when I'm working a lot. I love writers and somebody else. And other artists, like Wilfredo Lam and Picasso and Paul Klee and other people like that inspire me.
Well, your work was actually kind of compared to that, and I would say stylistically that there is a certain resemblance and a resonance towards it.
Mm.
Except you, like you said, you are using paint.
Right, just...
beads instead of paint.
Right. And there were some comments when the lady from, the curator for the International Folk Art Museum came here from New Mexico and did a lecture on my work. Two TV monitors, one showing other people's work and then showing mine, and that was really something to hear someone who knows how to say it better than me, describe it to me even.
It's hard to contextualize your work sometimes as an artist, don't you think?
Yeah, I think it is. It is. I think that's what people like about it and find it unique.
Right.
They're one of a kinds.
They really are. Your personal background. You're not from Los Angeles originally.
South side of Chicago, Bridgeport, right across the street from Mayor Daley, and I grew up there for about 18 years. I came out here originally to play tennis, and I did that for a while, and even went to Europe with a friend of mine once, and we played for fun out there, and then one day I just discovered art by accident, and I put down the racket and lifted up this.
You were a tennis player?
Mm-hmm. I wasn't a bad one either. I was pretty good.
Well, it got you out here, right?
Got me out here. Yes.
Wow. How did the school...
And in South Africa, I played also on a team there. So that was something very cool.
Sports and art. Who would have figured? It's amazing. And then also your own personal background. You were explaining to me that your mom was French and...
I have French, Spanish, Mexican, and that's it. Yeah. And Tarasco Indian, also from the state of Michoacan.
Tarasco Indian.
Mm-hmm.
That was your dad?
Yeah. And that's it. Yeah.
But
they're a small tribe. They're not a big tribe.
But you grew up with these cultural elements as well.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
Because I see el corazón, like you were telling me. You have a corazón in your pieces, la familia, but el corazón, for instance, I know that there's this whole thing with the Sacred Heart of Jesus that kind of also influences a lot of Mexican art.
Yeah, I'm not a very religious person at all, but I may take something here and there from from the Mexican votos and the traditional folk art that they do. I'm sure I did. One thing you'll never see in my work is my father, because I only met him once, and he's never inspired me enough to put him in the work. So I've never thought about that till right now, actually.
So your familia consists more of the feminine side?
Yeah.
And your
strong
son and your
feminine.
daughter?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah. I like that. I mean, we can't go back to the video right now, but I really like that piece, if people go back to the material later, where you have your son and he's got this scrotum, because you were describing this to me as that. I think it's over here. We might look at it.
I don't think it's in that one.
No, is that in here?
No.
Ay, qué pena.
No.
Snake, feathers, The people that they were comparing your work to were people like Paul Klee and this, these other kind of abstract painters.
Mm. Yeah, Wilfredo Lam was my favorite that they compared me to.
El Latinoamericano?
El Latinoamericano, yeah.
What makes that ring more true to you?
Just the way he paints, the way he designs. I think a lot of it was more his work, and it was more from the Caribbean. But of course, a lot of people at that time accused him of just ripping off Picasso. But it was very, very different than the Picasso's. Had more of that Caribbean influence and lifestyle.
But isn't it funny, because Picasso and a lot of the Cubists and a lot of that modern art has a lot of African influence?
Oh yeah.
And your work, obviously?
Mm-hmm. But you can see the African influence in some of his work so directly, and in other people, such as Wilfredo Lam, it's more abstract. It's a bit more abstract. So it's very different. So I can see the link in the comparison, but it's still very different from each other's work.
Well, your work, I think the beads make a big difference, a truly different statement, because it is so fine that from a distance until you really get close, you don't see it. And a lot of other mosaic work, there was another one called, I think it's called Picasso or Picatet or something like this. I can't remember exactly, but the chunks are bigger, and the beadwork and the towel work is bigger, and so you can see it's more physical. With your bead work, it gets a little bit more kind of washed in, and it does get more painterly.
If I can, I'd like to say if people listening right now want to see some of the work, they can go on Flickr and just look up my name, and they'll see the work.
Okay. Do we have a little more time? 6 minutes. There's this is a piece. Well,
it's a Haitian voodoo piece with beads and textile, and I see that more as kind of decorative and very different than sort of what I'm doing. But it's his work is worth a lot of money. It's been in museums. He's pretty well known. I'm not sure he's still alive.
Okay, well, we can't see this right now. It's Antoine Oleant. And basically, he works with beads and sequences on fabric. So it is very different from your work, indeed. But because I think he uses more sewing and a very different kind of texture.
And it's much more tradition in their country, or at least it was back then.
Right. Yeah. But your work is just a very storytelling.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Was there anything else that we failed to talk about?
No.
I know you have the thing coming up in October.
Right.
There's a closing.
We already, yeah. I think it closes this Saturday, if you're in the Ventura area.
Okay. Huicho. Yeah, the one of the writers was talking about Huicho beadwork.
Yeah, because when I started the work, it had some of that influence, and it was more sort of folklore. And eventually it changed. It became a bit more contemporary, and yeah, you can see the changes even if you look in the book or if you go on the website. You'll see noticeably the differences in the pieces, how I'm constructing them now, and certain ways that I'm using the bead than before.
Okay. I think that kind of covers it. I want to let everyone know, well, thank you very much for joining us in Creative Currents. And I know next week Jonathan Gerald is going to be back with another exciting guest for Creative Currents. Next week's guest is artist and author Lisa Adams on October 7th, and members of the band Kaura will be performing live in the studio. And later in the month, the astounding Reverend Billy from the Church of Stop Shopping will be here. So keep tuning in, and that's it. Thank you for watching.
Thank you for having me.